I want to talk about interviews and getting people comfortable on camera, because for most people, speaking on camera is not comfortable at all. It's extremely nerve-wracking, it makes people very anxious, and it's the same as public speaking. The interview is the most important part of your video, so you want them to be themselves and to be authentic and to not have their personality covered by their nerves. And the main tip I want to give you is to not make a huge build-up to the moment where you hit record. So really, when you're setting them up, you don't want to sort of let them sit there in silence, set their camera up. They're just sitting there, stuck in their thoughts, getting more and more nervous. And you're like, okay, here we go. 3, 2, 1, we're recording. They're gonna freak out. When you listen to podcasts, you'll often hear it start the episode by, oh, so we were just talking about X. Because what they did, they've sat the guests in the chair and they spoke to them for maybe 20, 30 minutes before they hit record. So that by the time they've rolled into the recording, they don't even notice the difference between the conversation they were having and the conversation they're now having live on air. And that's exactly what you need to do with your video. Have a chat with them the whole time, set up the camera, hit record, and you're just continuing to chat, talk about anything, the weather, how they got there today, something you guys can connect on, and then you just roll into the interview without any attention to the transition. That is the ultimate tip I can give you. If you build up to that moment too much, that's when they're not going to be themselves on camera, and that's when they're going to freak out. So my next tip is do not launch straight into your really important questions, because it's often only by the end of the interview that they're fully warmed up. So at the beginning, ask what I call some decoy questions. You could just ask them what their name is, what their position is, how long they've been working at the company, things like that, just to get them to get out those nerves in those first few questions. And then by the time you ask your actual questions, the important ones that you've planned out, they'll hopefully be warmed up and you'll get a much better response. Another tip is just to keep your communication casual about the fact you're doing a video. So don't send an email and make a huge deal about that you're filming and it's gonna go on the website and they need to talk about these things and you're gonna sit them down and conduct an interview. Just keep the language casual. Just say, look, we're gonna come over and we're gonna ask you a few questions. How does that sound? That's gonna help them not make such a big deal in their head about how they're gonna perform on camera and how scary it's gonna be. My next tip is during the interview, try to make it like a conversation. Don't sort of get their response, nod, and just move straight on to the next question. Bounce off the questions just like you would in a normal conversation. If they feel like they're being interviewed and you're firing these questions at them, they're going to respond like they're being interviewed. Make it feel like a conversation and they're going to be more comfortable. My last point is to do with scripts. And sometimes when people are nervous and they're not confident, they want to use a script. Try to steer them away from a script. They just don't come across very well. They don't come across authentic. The person gets obsessed with trying to get every single word in the script correct. So you can just say to them, look, you're the expert. You know this off the top of your head. We're just gonna ask you these questions. You totally got this. That's gonna end up with a much better video than trying to follow a script word by word. So that's it. Those tips combined are ultimately just to help the person forget about the camera and for it to just feel like a normal conversation. So again, don't build up to the moment when you hit record. Don't launch straight into your important questions because they won't be warmed up yet. Keep the whole thing casual and try not to use a script, and you're gonna have a nice, comfortable person on camera. You're gonna have a nice interview, and that is the important foundation of your video.